slow down. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house.
Wow, dude. If you could only hear yourself outside of the headphones, you'd realize how angelic that note was that you just hit. Go out. It's like, dude, am I being blessed by the Son of the Son of God? It is Sunday.
It is Sunday.
Fucking taking me to church with that fucking vocal right there.
Yeah, dude, you looking for a new lead singer?
Oh, no.
That happened?
Yeah,
I don't know if
please.
you heard that.
I did, yeah, you
someone,
showed me that. Yeah. Please submit over text message directly to Jimmy.
Taking new lead singer submissions.
So silly.
That's like DMing a girl to go out via her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yo, can I go out
Are
with
you
your
accepting
girlfriend?
boyfriend replacements? I would really like to be your girlfriend's
you'd
Hey, man,
only
if
give
you're
me a
busy,
chance.
let me know whenever you're busy, dude. I can fill
Just
in.
give me a shot. I can do it.
I think your girlfriend likes me, so I'm just gonna make sure it's cool with you first.
You're a good boyfriend, bud. Yeah, that was impressive, dude. To my house.
Bum, 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 bum.
Welcome to my house. And you've been housepilled, folks. Do you have a sudden urge to involve yourself in a 30-year commitment? A mortgage, perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
Something you can call your own?
Are you looking for a little equity?
Yeah,
Wow.
equity. That's a good word.
Mm-hmm.
I like that word. Now I want to buy a house. And well, I want to buy a house because you guys just we're discussing
Said
before
that.
the show. Well, you guys just said that, and
Yeah.
of course,
It's contagious, I think.
well, I think it's less to do with me wanting a house and more to do with me not wanting to be the only one of my friends that doesn't have a house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's really
true.
all peer pressure.
Right. And you were kind of counting on us to be a couple steps behind you.
I was hoping so. Yeah,
And now
because
that we're
you're
not.
you're a month older than me.
yeah.
So you were at least hoping to buy a house at least a month.
At least
before
a
us.
month.
At least a
before
month.
Eric
I would
does,
hope
yeah.
so.
Or
Or
and
like
a month and a day and a year ahead of Liz.
Right.
Well, exactly, and that therein lies the problem. See, if I were to buy a house before you, you'd have at least a month before you should even feel any way about it.
Exactly.
You'd be like, "Oh my god, he's got more experience, he's more mature."
yeah,
you
he's
know.
been around the block a month longer than I am.
Yeah. I've seen
he's
things,
a couple blocks ahead.
but now you guys are really looking into it,
Yeah.
and I got to be honest, I've coincidentally nothing to do with you guys. I've also been looking into it.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Nice.
Wow. It's in the air.
It's like
You remember
it
when
is-
like our friends took like real estate exams like 10 years ago and tried to get us to buy houses then? Ridiculous. But now
But now,
we're looking.
Well, now our friends actually, like Henry, for instance, is a real estate agent, and but when he first got in, yeah, he did the same thing. He was trying to get me to buy a house, and I was like, "So what do I do?" He was like, "I don't know," and I was like, "All right, we both don't know what's going on here, dude.
yeah.
We both have zero clue how this."
Well,
It's
and
like
then
one
he,
of us
like-
should know, and I feel like it should be you
Yeah.
because you want me to do it.
You're the guy.
You're telling me, man.
Well, then also like you had to like you had to like talk to a bank or whatever to see what kind of loan you could get, and they're like, "Nah, you don't get anything."
Yeah, exactly.
No loans.
I was like, "What am I supposed to do?" They're like,
Like we
so
don't.
I can't buy a house.
We don't trust you as far as we can throw you, dude. Like, it's not happening.
"You're not ready to be house-pilled, dude."
Yeah.
That's what Bank of America told me, dude.
I don't even think you understand. You'll have to give this money back, so we can't give it to you. It's not just free money. It's there's expectations.
But here's a $400,000 student loan if you want.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. That you
Totally
don't need
fine.
to know anything.
But you want a place to live? No way.
You can only
You would
use
like-
this
like
towards renting a
basic-
place. Okay,
Yeah.
this
Oh,
is for student housing, not student home.
you want to spend this
Yeah.
on something that actually has physical value that we could reclaim in the offset chance that you don't pay back your mortgage? No.
No.
We'd rather give you money for something we could never reclaim.
Yeah, we'd rather just like bleed
Education.
you dry.
We
for
can't.
Many years.
If you don't pay off your student loans, we can't take back your education and sell
We
it at a
can't wring
foreclosed
out
rate.
your brain.
yeah. The government hasn't allowed us to do that yet, but
Yeah. Here's this guy's education.
trust
We're
and
gonna sell it on the
believe.
market.
Trust and believe as soon as we can, we'll figure that out too.
That is strange now that I think
Yeah.
about it. Like, it is weird that First of all, does it sound echoey to anybody else, or is it just me? Or are these headphones really loud?
They might just be loud.
Okay,
They're a
I
little
think
loud.
we're just okay. Okay, now we're
And
good.
Do you have the speakers on?
No.
Okay.
I think we're good. It's weird that they're so much more like liberal with giving out student loans and things like that than they are for mortgages. For that exact reason, it's like if somebody doesn't pay back their mortgage, you can just reclaim the house and resell it at market value, or at least get some of your money back. There's a physical asset there.
Yeah.
And they're much more strict on who they give mortgages to versus the student loan thing. It's like, well, if somebody doesn't pay back their student loans, there's
Right.
nothing you can do to like, there's no collateral there.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the thing too, is again, like predatory loaning practices, as well as like it was going to be the new bubble or whatever, like without trying to do some of the student loan forgiveness. And then people are also like, oh, you can't do that. It's not fair or whatever. You can't, I already paid my loans. You can't forgive the loans. It's like, yeah, but like a bunch of people never are going to be able to. And so
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of people never will, which means at a certain point, that's going to pop.
The bubble bursts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm begging to be predatory loaned to. That's the only way I could get a mortgage.
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
somebody to say, this guy, there's no fucking way he's paying it back. So I'll give him a loan. I'll be like, all right.
Yeah, you need
I'll
one of
fucking
the.
take that bet.
You need like
Yeah,
a 2007 housing loan.
I need a guy from
Yeah.
2007 to give me a loan. I need to
Yeah.
go back in time.
to lump those into that prime bucket.
Find like a fucking emo
Yeah.
mortgage guy.
Yeah, just
I wish
a
I'd get Big
McMansion.
Shorted.
Somebody short me.
Please.
It's a shame, dude. It's a shame. I hear about all these guys purposefully giving out shitty loans, and none of them ever talk.
They
to
never
me.
hit you up.
They never hit me up. Guys.
This was like me when all of my friends were being sexually harassed by Stompy, and
Mm-hmm.
he never even attempted to message me.
Will somebody please pray on me?
Will somebody please
Oh my
pay me to
God,
step
no.
on their balls?
I'm not going to accept payment, but I would like to be offered the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it, but please just give me the money, maybe. I'll
You
take the money.
start paying Stompy to offer to pay you.
Oh my gosh. Don't tell anyone I did this, okay?
I was actually thinking about him the other day. I was watching the Dahmer series recently, and
Oh God.
it got me thinking. It got me thinking, like, wow, I know a guy that still to this day is constantly hitting me up for various services.
Man, he still hits you up.
I would say
Oh my
at
God.
least.
I thought he like died or something.
I would say every
my gosh.
4 to 5 months, every 3 to 5 months, I get a Facebook message.
He rolls through his rotation.
He does.
Your number
Yeah.
comes back
Rolodex.
up. Yeah.
Jesus.
Like he thinks that, like he's like, all right, so he's got
Been a couple months. He probably forgot.
exactly. So like, I'm thinking like this. I'm still on this dude's radar.
Yeah.
He could probably be listening to this as we speak.
Oh, probably.
And
yeah.
it's like, if
And
this,
now he hears that you'd really like a loan. So that's true. He's like, someone might need a little help with the mortgage payments.
Yeah.
I will stomp on your
Actually-
nuts for 3% cash back, please.
Not even how that
Yeah,
works.
20% down.
I'll pay you, and then you give me 3%
Yeah.
cash back.
Yes.
Like,
I'm taking offers now, baby. Where are we at?
APR, low interest, ball stomp.
0% financing, ring any bells?
Oh my god.
I'm just naming financial terms. I'm just like
Exactly.
going through my Rolodex of
Throwing
car
out of,
commercials.
like-
Like, all right,
Yeah,
President's
it's,
sale.
for the Toyota Thon, I've got some really good discounts.
Maybe Black and Blue
services.
Friday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude.
Happy
so,
Honda days. It's time to go. Like,
yeah, dude. So it really did have me thinking. I was like, like if there's anybody, you got to have your top 5 list of most likely people to kill you. And I would, I mean, I think that's a safe list to keep. I'm not saying that even my number 1 person is going to kill me.
No,
I'm just saying
but
that
you just have a
he's
list of
most-
suspects.
he or she is most likely to do so. Even if the percentage of that person is still like 1 in a million, that's still worse than potentially like the next person,
well, and also statistically, you're more likely to be hurt or murdered by a person you know as opposed to a stranger, but by like a
course.
huge margin.
But how well do you have to know them?
That's a good question.
I think a fringe guy
You think
is-
a fringe guy's a good candidate?
I think a fringe guy is number 1 candidate. Somebody
maybe
who-
for men. I think that's possible. I think for, I think
True.
for women, it's like, oh yeah, probably.
Yeah,
now I'm gonna
probably
make as
the person
this
you
is
know
the
the
face I
most.
make up, the face I make when I'm making up a statistic, but it is like still like it's like high. It's like it's either gonna be your partner or someone in your immediate family.
So,
like,
would Eric be in your top 5 statistically?
I mean, just on statistics.
Yeah, statistics
Yeah.
alone. Yeah.
Listeners,
alone.
Eric and Liz are dating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
not
this is
just
live
two,
from the studio.
this is
yeah,
live
yeah.
from the studio.
I'm not just bringing in two random
people
in the
who are
housing market
Yeah.
that are both happen to be looking for a home.
We're planning to be roommates, so we're really shopping around.
Going
Yeah.
in on a house together.
Yeah.
This is a Bumble BFF date. They want to know if they're compatible.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, live from the studio. I am Jimmy So Lesky. I'm feeling so Lesky today.
Yeah, I'm Eric Glazer. Tonight on the show, I guess today.
Today.
On the show,
Today.
on the cast, on the couch, we've got Elizabeth Norman.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Danger Norman,
Yeah.
as she goes by in the comedian world.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that actually like a alias that you run with? Like, do you? I thought that was just like
Some people are really into
use
it.
Twitter name or something.
Like our good friend Mike Quinlan is very into it. So some people write that down on the poster. I don't ask people to write it down.
You
on
don't
the poster
sell
at this
it that
point.
way.
But I'll say if I didn't have it, it would be harder to find me. So I do maintain it on Facebook and Instagram so that people can find me for mostly comedy reasons.
I like it. I think that it's cool because, like, you know, it's like an old saying, right? Like,
Right.
dude, my middle name is Danger.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
That's step or part A why it's cool.
It's
Yeah.
nostalgia.
It's-
Part 2 is
funny.
it's nostalgic.
Yeah.
I think of my childhood when I think of your name.
Thanks. Thank you.
Brings me back.
so
Part
nice.
B is that it's a ballsy move to give yourself an alias and
I guess
run with
so.
it, you know?
It's so funny to me because I did that when I was in 8th grade and when I like got a Facebook basically. So it's been my Facebook middle name since like 8th grade, and I have run into other people whose Facebook middle name is Danger, and sometimes they do want to beef.
Oh, really? They do want to
Yeah,
beef?
sometimes they want to beef. Usually they are older than me. We actually, our other friend, Ryan Nazer, his son's middle name legally is Danger.
Danger Nazer?
He,
That's
yeah.
pretty sick.
Yep. So like some people are doing it for real. And I'm like, it's not my real
I mean, when
middle
you
name.
bring
I'm not-
lawyers into the situation,
Yeah.
when you're on the grid,
when you're
the,
like, write it down on
Yeah,
your
your
birth
government
certificate.
name.
when the IRS calls you
When-
Danger,
and when
that's-
it's a choice that it's not like you made that choice. It's like your parents were like, this is important and I'll handle this actually. That's a whole other level. But yeah, no, I've had that. Yeah, since I was in 8th grade,
Well, I think you get grandfathered in. I think that's kind of. I have you ever met a person or known a person that tried to like change what you like? There was a girl that worked at a place that I play at, and I always called her. Let's just say a different name here. I always called her Sam. She always went by Sam. And then one day, there were too many Sams at work there. There was like a boy Sam, a guy Sam, another Sam. And then so she was like, I think I'm going to start going by Jenny. And it was her middle name. And I was like, I'm just supposed to start calling like,
I'm just, yeah, okay.
and then like she was just like in the middle, it was like the middle of a shift and she legitimately runs with it. And I was like, you gotta kind of branch into a new group of people. Like whatever my middle school friends know me as is what they know me as.
Yeah.
But like if I were to go to Towson University and be like, I briefly did think about like going by
Switching to
Demetrius
Oh,
yeah.
because it was like cooler
Yeah.
and that's my real name. And like I was
Yeah.
like, that's tight. And then I was like, none of my old friends are gonna.
Right, that I'm gonna, if I ever try to mix these groups of people,
Yeah.
it's gonna be confusing because they're gonna be like, I'm sorry, Jimmy, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
And they're gonna be like, Demetrius,
Yeah.
you're doing this now, you know?
So if you
Yeah.
start off in middle school with Danger
Yeah.
Norman, you're grandfather in. By the time
Yeah.
I met you, that's who you are.
Yeah,
In
no,
fact,
for
it'll be
sure.
weird now for me if you
If I
stopped.
stopped doing it, yeah.
Be like, that's
Yeah, and that's what I really have to like put first is how will this affect other people?
well, yes.
As opposed to like, what do I want out of my name? I mean, yeah, I used to go by Lizzie also.
Lizzie
when I was,
Safety Norman.
When I was not just Lizzie, when I was in middle school, and so I like can tell who I met after middle school because they'll just call me Elizabeth most of the time. But
Well, that's kind of similar with your boss, Joey. He goes by Leland with his like family
Yeah.
and like
That's so-
Eastern
Well, that's
Shore
what
for
his
him.
like
Interesting.
in New York. That was his director name. Like he went by Leland Malinsky.
That sounds like a Polish guy, I would say. Like a
Yeah.
Polish director. Like he should have an accent if his name is Leland Malinsky.
interesting. Yeah.
Like a beret or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd trust
scarf.
that director more personally. And this is just my internalized bias, but a director named Leland Malinsky, I'd be like, oh, that guy has. I would call his movies films.
Yeah.
I would call Joey Malinsky's products movies. That's the difference. Have you
mean-
seen that new Leland Malinsky film? It was
Yeah.
brilliant.
Saw it at
I don't use the word
cons.
brilliant, but I'd
It's
use
just-
it to describe
yeah, it's
Leland
just-
Malinsky.
Well, it's also like they're names at a different level of seriousness, and I think having the Y on the end of your name, your first name, that's kind of like, again,
it's
Jimmy versus
Bells.
Demetrius.
Mhm. Or
Demetrius
even
is a
just
much more
Jim.
serious name.
Jim.
Jim is more serious than Jimmy.
Jim is more serious. Jim is
Yeah.
more adult. That's why you
Jimmy
stop
and Joey,
going by,
that's some guy. You know,
you,
that's
you
a
go
guy.
by Liz, not Lizzie.
Well, and I don't really. Yeah, people call me Liz. I wouldn't. I don't introduce myself.
But
as
no one
Liz,
would ever
but yeah.
dare call you Lizzie.
Oh, people.
Unless they're following you on Twitter.
or
Lizzie
they're
Normal.
right, or unless they're like in my family or knew me in middle school. Like I'll still like meet up with like friends that
And they're
are
like,
from a
"Oh,
long time,
Lizzie."
and they're like, "Oh, Lizzie's here."
Nobody would call you Ericy.
No.
Well, it doesn't.
That would be
He already
unserious.
has a
Yeah.
just a 2-syllable name anyway.
Yeah,
to
there's
add
no need
another
to shorten
syllable.
it.
That's true.
I guess
Yeah.
unless you just call me Irk
Or Rick.
Irk.
or E.
Rick? E?
Rick. I don't like Rick
Ricky.
as a name.
Yeah, you're not a Rick. Speaking of,
My name's not Rick.
don't call me that. There is actual scientific evidence says YouTube, which I believe in.
Professor YouTube.
Professor YouTube, that there actually is a basis for when you say like, oh, you don't look like a Eric or you don't look like a Caroline.
Oh,
People always say that, and it's like there actually is. They've done like big surveys where like they'll show pictures of people.
like match the name. Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah,
they
yeah,
found
yeah.
that they'll be like, okay, it'll be like multiple choice, and they'll be like, okay, and it'll be like a guy named Eric, and then they'll be like, what do you think this person's name is? And it'll just be a picture of him, like front, back, side, and then people, and they found that like 40% of people guessed the correct name out of 4 names, and they found that it's actually like
Which is above statistical chance.
Way, yeah, it would be
'cause
25%.
Yeah, exactly.
if it was just a flat out. And they were trying to figure out like why is that, and they're theorizing that like, you know, certain names have certain types of like and that goes without saying. I mean, like if you're named Chad, there's a whole different like series of expectations that come
Yeah.
along with being a guy
You
named
need
Chad.
a chin. You need
Yeah.
cheekbones. You gotta have the whole.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
like if you're named Carly, or if you're named Gertrude, or if you're named like, you know, there's
Yeah.
there are actual societal like kind of like prejudices or predispositions or expectations of certain names, and that actually if you go through life as a Nathan, for instance, a lot of people's first impressions of you are going to be based off their interpretations of a Nathan, which is you're a fucking dweeb. And then they're gonna
Meek. You're very meek.
You're meek. You're meek.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The only way it could be worse is if your name was Ethan.
Well, do you think you also like? Do you think you take on the qualities of your name as you age?
That's kind of what they're getting at. They say that people actually, it's not like so blatant, but there are subtle things that because of how you're regarded by other people on a day-to-day basis, that you slowly and
Mold
incrementally
to conform to
you
the
kind of conform to the
expectation.
expectation of your name. And so there actually is a scientific basis to, oh, you don't look like a Marty. It's like, yeah, I don't look like a Marty, dude. I look like a fucking Jim. And you know what else? I don't look like a Demetrius either, because society doesn't expect me to look like a
Yeah.
Demetrius.
Society already put you in the Jimmy mold.
Yeah. Do you think I'd have a podcast in a garage?
Wow.
My name is
Name was
Demetrius.
If I was Demetrius, no.
No, you'd own a fucking diner.
I'd have a broadcast in a diner. Broadcast. So strange. So
Yeah.
you've been formed by so many different names, I guess, is what I'm getting at. That, like, you know, when people first meet you, they expect you to embody a Lizzie. And then now people expect you to embody danger.
Yeah. Yeah, which I think is funny too, because I'm not a particularly dangerous person.
I think it works.
I think it works. I think. Yeah.
I think just
Be
like,
ooh, dangerous thoughts, maybe.
Wow, gotta put some caution tape over her mouth.
it's like when you
That's
call
the
like
album cover.
a huge guy tiny or something like that.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
It's like you look like somebody who would ironically make their middle name Danger.
Yeah, and there you go. There you have it.
Which is dope.
Yeah, so
You've got the official dope stamp of approval, dude.
thank you.
I don't give that out just to any.
Right. Appreciate it.
Try, let me like this Parliament real quick.
Oh,
guys.
Yeah, it's not good. But yeah, it was a nice little weekend. Last weekend, went out to a little brunch.
Oh yeah.
Went out to a little early
my.
B-Day brunch for Maris and Mahet.
It was. It didn't feel like that was a birthday brunch, though.
No.
There wasn't
Yeah,
a
it was more of
birthday
just
brunch.
like
It's
a
just kind of like
football.
we're all there at a brunch and there's football. Yeah.
You know how I know it wasn't really their birthday brunch? I never once felt any type of social compulsion
To sing.
to I was gonna say to pay for their tabs.
Oh, okay.
It never even crossed my mind. Like when we go out for like somebody's birthday, if it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
actually their birthday outing, it's like
Yeah.
generally if you have solid friends, you're not gonna be paying for your own shit. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what I paid for on my own birthday, but I like to assume that I probably didn't pay for much when we all went out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I like wandered off on my own and bought myself a couple secret shots or whatever, but you know, you guys can't stop that. You can't stop
You
me.
never could.
You can't stop that.
No chance, man.
Fucking-
It's happening. Yeah.
Brownout Jimmy takes over.
Yeah.
Finds the nearest bartender he knows.
But like, I didn't even think about it until like 2 days later. I was like, damn, I didn't even think about like paying for like a
Yeah.
drink for Marissa, and it's like because it wasn't her fucking birthday.
Well, it's also like
it was a bit
unlimited
removed.
brunch drinks until 2.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
I feel like bottomless
getting
is
the
hard
bottomless.
to. It's hard to be like, let me
step
get the
in
next round. Wink.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's not like I was like forking over money for her fucking eggs hollandaise either. I wasn't,
Yeah,
like, you know.
Hey, they ran out of
They
hollandaise.
ran out of the
so-
hollandaise.
Really? How do you
Yeah.
run out of hollandaise?
That's what
That's
we
what
the
were
egg
saying.
yolks, dog?
But
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Oh,
I thought
oops.
people made it.
we only have egg whites, dude. Sorry, we are out of yolks.
Yeah, poor Mahedi. He wanted that Benedict. It didn't work out.
And now,
So,
then
no.
those fucking BLTs are atrocious.
Oh, really? Well, you guys are kind of, you guys are kind of BLT snobs. Let's admit, you guys
We
kind
had
of.
some
We had a
beautiful
BLT
BLTs this
today.
morning.
Went to the farmer's market.
Got that fresh bread,
bread.
yeah.
Got an heirloom tomato.
I mean,
Made
Eric's
some.
got some fresh pickles that he's pickled himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be if I was a restaurant and I saw you guys walk in. I'd be like, dude, hide the BLTs.
Get him out.
I'm not trying to be BLT'd right now. Dangerous, dangerous. But what was wrong with theirs? Obviously, I hear that their toast is too hard. Is
Well,
that
you're
true?
saying the bacon was
The
like
bacon
a pork chop.
was yeah. It was like a pork chop.
Oh,
It was like gray. I've never seen gray bacon before, and it wasn't crispy. I don't know. It was like the opposite of what you just assume out of a bacon. And
Did the lettuce live up at least? Was the lettuce okay, or did they fuck that up
was
too?
lettuce was okay. Tomato didn't really taste like anything. Yeah,
I mean,
not the best.
come on.
Come on.
At that point, it's like at least nail the fucking lettuce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just call it like a pork sandwich.
Right.
Because then I would have been like less upset.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, PLT. You know?
PLT, pork, lettuce, tomato. Yeah, that was a fun day. We gotta figure out something how to avoid. I mean, I enjoy being out all day drinking, but like by the end of the night, it always winds up being like a $200 endeavor, and I'm
Oh,
just
yeah,
like,
that's why I always leave early.
You guys
'cause
are
I'm
smart.
like,
We zipped.
yeah, we
were like,
got
"Thanks."
brunch and we're like, all right, that was it.
Yeah, we
Time
watched.
to fucking go watch 3 more Final Destination.
Yeah, we watched
movies.
all 5 Final Destination movies in one weekend, which was fine then. And then I had to go places for the rest of the week, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have just intrusive thoughts about car crashes."
is the
nonstop.
series good? I know that I recall seeing at least one of the movies, and I remember it being good, but I haven't watched them since I was in like middle school, and I feel like
Yeah.
everything was at least okay when I was in middle school because I had no expectations.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
was like,
think
this
the
is a movie.
third one was
the third
probably
one is
the favorite.
best one. Yeah.
That's the one with the roller coaster that fucks up and kills everyone on it.
Yeah.
The second one, I think, has the coolest opening death scene with the logs coming
That's
off
iconic.
the big.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
That's an iconic scene. Yes.
The first one is just good because it sets up the whole series.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's James Wu or James Wong or whatever. Mm-hmm. The guy who does like Insidious and all that shit.
Yeah.
So like that was one of his earlier movies. And it really kind of like, I don't know. I feel like for the time, it was pretty like innovative as a horror movie because everyone else was still stuck in like slasher, like guy that can't die.
These were like early 2000s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the first one was like maybe, it was 2000 because it was a year before 9/11.
Right. They
And
wouldn't
the-
have made a plane movie
They
after
would have
what
had
happened. They would have been like,
plane
"That's a little-"
exploding.
That being said, it was based on like a real like
Mm-hmm.
plane that had a bunch of high schoolers going on a class trip
Oh,
that
really?
exploded in like 97.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd say that they wouldn't do something like that after 9/11, but then you're like, some people maybe would. Like,
See, the roller coaster thing, though, I think you mentioned that's one of the scenes.
Yeah.
That I went to the fair, the state fair, the Maryland State Fair, and Liv was trying to get on rides and stuff, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll get on, but I gotta be honest. Like, normally it's the kids that are more scared of roller coasters." But kids and adults are scared of roller coasters for different reasons.
absolutely.
I'm scared of roller coasters because I'm aware that the person in charge of my life is a carny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that or like
This guy
is
like packs up
14
the
years
ride
old.
into a
Like,
pickup truck.
Yeah.
And then drives it to the next stage.
Yeah, like when you're
You're
a
like,
kid,
yeah.
you're like, oh no.
Did he
You're
tighten
like,
all
oh,
the
it's so
bolts?
tall, it's so
Like-
high. Yeah, you're like, I bet they missed a couple screws.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
there's no way they had all of them.
It's totally feasible that this contraption did not pass an inspection or something, or they skipped an inspection. Like
Yeah.
when you become older, you start being aware of like the realities of stuff, and then
Yeah.
you're scared of stuff not for like the perfect example I would say is like when you're a kid and you like when you go like abandoned house hunting, when you're in middle school, it's like, but you're scared because you think like there's gonna be like a ghoul in there.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Goblin
just
might
scared
pop out.
that a fucking crazy drug addict homeless person is gonna stab me. That's
Yeah.
what I'm scared of now when I go into an
Yeah.
abandoned house.
Yeah, or
And
like
that's
the
a-
floor's rotting and you're going to fall through it.
That's a
Get
more
stuck and
realistic
no one will
fear.
find you.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I'm still scared of a ghoul every now and then, but
You can catch me.
Some gobblers.
you
me
can
a
catch
little
me quivering,
concerned about a ghoul. Yeah.
catch me concerned. You know? You know, I
I'm
still,
not scared. I'm concerned.
you know, I'm still not
little
when I
worried about
turn off the light in a basement. I'm not taking my
No.
time up the steps. I mean, I don't run up the
running
steps.
up the stairs. Oh,
I
no?
just, but I definitely.
But I'm
pick
just
up the
more
pace a little.
efficient now.
yeah, I just have longer legs, so I'm skipping a couple stairs. It may look like I'm running, but
That's
it's
because I'm scared because I gotta get upstairs.
I've got
gotta
things to
get
do.
into the light.
I'm busy
Look, I don't have all day to be downstairs right now.
downstairs,
especially when it's so dark and
mucking
spooky.
about in the basement. Yeah.
Yeah, basements. There's certain things you can't, and that's instinctive. You know, human beings, we're not supposed to like the dark.
Nah.
You know, because in reality, it all comes down to we don't like what we don't know. And even though I just looked at the basement with the lights on, when I turn the lights off, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It goes back to the like you know, your little lizard brain and stuff where you're like,
Are lizards scared of the dark?
well, I don't know. I'm just saying of
They should
being
be.
like they should be, and that kind of even though you logically know that it's the exact same basement that you just turned the lights out on. So logically, nothing has changed other than the light being on or off. Your brain is like, well, now since I can't see anything, I have no idea what could be down there.
Yes.
Even though that's not a logical thought. So
Well-
it's going back into like your earlier orders of brain to like process something that is totally ignoring
Oh,
your
yeah.
like, you know,
But
frontal cortex.
But
Like,
sometimes that pays off because if you follow the theory of evolution, you know, Darwin's theory would suggest that the people who weren't scared of the dark or didn't have some type of intrinsic, natural, instinctive fear of the dark died off.
right. Well, and that's
So maybe
that's
is-
why you're like, again, your brainstem, those like areas that were the first to evolve still have so much control too,
Mm-hmm.
because they are for keeping you alive. They're
Yes.
like, that's their main purpose. That's their only goal, is just being like, stay alive. So yeah, that's part of the thing too, is then you get like so evolved that whatever, we can do all these things, build all these things, but that part of the brain takes over, being like, but don't die. Like, get out of
exactly.
there, don't die.
Also,
That's-
run up the stairs real quick.
Yeah.
If people try to make
get
fun of
out.
me for being scared of the dark, I'm like, dude, I'm not a pussy. I'm just more evolved than you.
Right.
My
Well, or
fucking-
you're
my
like
brain
uh,
stem is just
yeah.
pumped up right now.
well, and then that's part of the thing too. Of like, people are also like, some types of mental illness potentially are just because like our brain is not suited to enjoy being alive. It is just suited to like keeping us alive.
That's true.
So then you're like, anxiety or anxious behavior and that kind of stuff is for like scanning to look out for predators, and it's like there's not predators coming for you now. But your brain is still reacting and looking for them like they are. So you're like, okay, well, I'll find something else to be worried about. And now it's, I don't want to talk to people. I'm
Yeah.
shy.
So maybe
Like,
anxiety
yeah.
is the natural. I mean, you ever look at an animal? They look anxious. Like
right,
when you
no,
look at a
that's what
rabbit,
I'm
they're-
saying. It's like it's a
Yeah,
behavior
I've never
and
seen
a
a
system.
happy animal.
you don't
in
see a
nature.
chill
Yeah.
animal. You don't
Yeah,
just see
because
an
they
animal. Just
have
like,
to stay alive. So it's like it's performing a function. It's just not a function that's compatible with the way that we've set up our lives
Yeah.
currently. So
You
that's why it's a problem. If you were out in the woods,
it'd be
yeah,
re-
regular day, like normal time.
You never meet like a squirrel who's just like, dude, maybe there's a hawk, maybe there's not. I only worry about the things I can control.
I'm just here
Yeah, I'm just
in the
gonna eat
here
this
and now,
nut.
man. I'm just gonna really enjoy this nut.
Look, maybe this guy walking down the sidewalk isn't trying to kill me. I'm not going to run up a tree.
Yeah.
No, a squirrel is going to run up a tree 9 out of 10 times, and if he doesn't, he has a disease and it's called rabies, and that means you should be scared.
You should run up
If
that
I
tree.
You better get up that tree
If
right
I
now.
see an animal that's not scared, I'm scared.
Right.
Somebody has to feel the fear is what I'm getting. Fear exists in the universe. And we all kind of have an assumption. It's like, dude, if I look at a deer, I think personally as an apex predator, as the top of the food chain,
Yeah.
as the pinnacle of evolution, that deer, out of respect, should fear me.
Yeah,
Interesting.
should be scared and run away.
But as soon as he doesn't,
Well,
I
As
become
soon
a
as you
beta.
see his mouth foaming and like it has that
Yeah.
weird like deer parasite disease where they're zombies, like
Oh,
get the fuck
well,
out
there's
of there.
like stuff like that, but then there's also too like a lot of animals, because and again that's like similar for humans as well, because it's a similar response. Is like that panic response is either like, okay, I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna run away,
or I'm going to flight.
or I'm going to just freeze too, which a lot of animals do, in part because there are so many animals that are not that good at seeing. So if they just don't move, they'll be like, oh, where'd it go?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so it does work. Like, unfortunately for deer who are crossing a road,
Yeah, deer in a
not
headlight
doesn't
doesn't
work
work.
on cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
The fight or flight, dude.
yeah.
Fight or book a fucking ticket with Spirit. Go
Yeah.
somewhere else, dude. Those are
The
too hot.
spirit's taking me away, man. I've gotta go.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that. That is an interesting conundrum. Is it's like, you know, I think what's strange about society. Hot take, society.
Oh.
Weird. Weird society.
Yeah.
Some
I
things
think we
about it are
live
a
in a
little
society.
weird,
Something.
I guess.
I think before pre-society.
Pre the Joker.
Pre the
new
Joker. Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Pre-Joker. We're talking
So we're
Penguin
talking
era.
2017.
Yeah. We're talking 2017. You exist in your day to day, but there's no like buildings and like work. I mean, there is work. People always get that twisted too. It's like, dude, there was always work. Like if
Yeah.
you weren't clocking in at your cubicle, you would have been like hunting or like
You would have
growing
been
a plant.
actively building a shelter, like actively.
I don't know
looking
if there
for
was
stuff.
like a situation where people were just like, I'm chilling all day, every day, baby. I don't give a fuck. And it's like, well, those people probably died. So like you exist in, even though there's no society, you exist in a still natural state of anxiety where you're concerned for predators. You're concerned for where your next meal's coming from. You're concerned for, you know, if your babies are going to make it through childbirth and into adulthood. You're concerned if your your wife or husband is out mating with another person. But at least with all these anxieties that you feel, you're still very in tune with why you feel that way. And so much of anxiety is the fact that you don't know where it's coming from. I think in modern society, it's like you feel this anxiousness. I changed it to anxiousness. The word is anxiety. You feel this anxiety, but in modern society where everything's so convoluted, you have no way of actually tracing it back to the root source.
Yeah.
So
'cause you have access to food, you have access to water, housing for the most part.
Yeah.
for the most part.
So then what you're really anxious about is like, why didn't anyone like my post?
Yeah,
Should I
Right.
delete it before anyone sees that there's no
Right.
likes on it?
exactly.
Yeah.
Your body needs to feel anxious, and now it's like, well,
Well, and
we ate already, so what do we get nervous about now?
yeah,
I don't know,
to
that thing.
Right, to a certain degree too. I think it's probably most likely true that throughout time, in any different like grouping of people, there are people that are more anxious, and so. Again, back then, those would be the people on lookout for bears or whatever in the woods, you know? So you'd have people who can serve different positions in whatever structure you're building together. But yeah, so now it's just like, I think there is like definitely some validity to being multiple steps removed from different sources and yet still having your brain operate in the same way that it would have, you know, again, 2,000 years ago. Like, because in terms of evolution, we haven't changed physically significantly
Yeah, of course.
in a long time.
And we definitely, society has progressed, technology has progressed so much faster than evolution can keep up with.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
That our, like you said, our physical bodies are not evolved for the current state of existence in modern human society.
Yeah.
And so our, like, living in the woods on a savanna instincts are just now dropped
That's a crazy
into,
woods.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
living in the
Woods
woods
in
on
the
a savanna in the Arctic. Like, we're gonna get every biosphere,
every biosphere, living in this urban
all these
sprawl.
biomes.
Hey man, global
knock 'em
warming, am I
together.
right?
Honestly, soon enough, we'll be living in a bog and a desert.
Bog
at the
and a desert at the same time.
yeah, during the winter.
during the winter.
God.
Bog winter,
The
desert
nuclear
summer.
winter in the desert bog.
Well,
Yeah.
that is. I think that's a very interesting point that we've stumbled upon.
Yeah.
Is what's like the solution. I don't know. Maybe instead of looking at the feeling of anxiety as something that is intrinsically bad,
Yeah.
we start to take more of a tact and go like, look, the natural state of human existence is the natural state of animal existence is anxiety. And all the animals that weren't constantly like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? I heard something. What the fuck was that? They got eaten.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, and that's the kind of thing too, is I think there's a lot of stuff towards that, and a lot of ways that people are like trying to figure out to deal with anxiety now is also being like, doing a lot of self-talk, being like, thank you, nervous system. I know that you are trying to protect me, and trying to like talk yourself through a lot of stuff. And part of the problem too is just like what we've done as people adds up to a situation that's pretty fucked up. So it would make sense
Yeah.
that like some part of your brain is like, I don't know, I think this might be really fucked up actually.
This doesn't align with,
yeah.
like,
Actively killing the planet that we live on at this point, and being like, it's profiting so many people who have so much power that they're like, nobody stop doing it. Please keep doing it. This is the most important thing or whatever. And then, yeah, it's just like out of order in a big way, I think. So it would make to put something like anxiety as like a negative thing that is just like the person who has its problem is to really take it out of the context of like, a lot of us probably should be anxious about the fact that like stuff is going to go bad.
Yeah, and
really
I like that
soon.
you say self-talk for two reasons. Reason number one is because I do think the most important thing when addressing anxiety is rather than looking at it as some type of, and I know a lot of people disagree with me with this, and I know that it applies to certain people, but I think as a general rule, I think rather than looking at anxiety as necessarily a disorder or something that's outside of your control, that actually examining the realities of your own existence and trying to trace back what are the causes of these things. So much of anxiety can be cured by understanding what's causing it, because then at least then you don't just have this like weird looming feeling of anxiety. You can now go, oh, well, I at least now know why I'm feeling anxious because of this, and this. And once you identify the problem, what does AA say? That's the first step, baby.
Right.
The first step is admitting you have a problem. Second reason I like self-talk is because I think it's weird that people think it's weird to talk to yourself.
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know, I'm going to make up a stat.
Hell yeah. This
But
is
at
your
least
face that
I'm
you
in-
make when you make up a stat. You're like, and I go like this, numbers.
What do I
Which-
feel?
How many do I think it is? Let me
I would-
just feel a number out of the air.
I'm getting a 7. 57% of people, 57% of people talk to themselves
Yeah.
when no one's around. I do.
Yeah.
And you know what's weird? I would die if anybody ever saw me doing it.
Oh,
yeah.
People see me talking to myself
But I'll
all the time.
happily talk about it.
That's my thing too, is I'm not, most of the time when I'm talking to myself, I am just like fully in my mind having a conversation about like thinking about things. But what I do externally is I will move my hands like I'm talking to someone else. And it's like just that, no mouth.
You sign
and
to
people
yourself.
see me going down the street being like, I don't know, think about this. Like, I go like, oh, right, I'm alive and people can see me in the world. Like,
There's things
Yeah.
that we do that even taking a selfie is something I find interesting. Is that like obviously people take selfies because you see them post selfies, but
sure.
it would be embarrassing to be caught taking a selfie.
oh, I have no idea how so many YouTubers can like post videos of them being like, here we are at this big event full of people and here's my review of how this event
Yeah.
was. And I'm like,
And
if
they're talking
anyone
so
saw
loud.
me
Yeah.
ever, I've seen people like post videos of like them on the train talking about stuff, like talking about my day. And I'm like, never in my life would I be able to do that, because I
Yeah.
would be like, oh my God, people can see me.
You kinda-
I can't
Yeah.
shut off the outside world like that.
Yeah.
Like I
Which
for,
is,
I don't know if it's good or bad, but like I can't not like in a public setting be private like that out
Right.
loud.
well, yeah, and then that's the kind of the thing too, which again, I think it functions in a lot of different ways, but a lot of people have that like very self-critical voice too, which I think obviously when it takes over your life and it makes it so that you can't do things that you want to do, tough. But in some ways, I'm like, maybe there are people that I wish their self-critical voice was a little higher, because I can't believe you're doing that in front of me right now.
Bump up the
Like,
volume a little bit.
bump
over
up
there.
the volume a little bit, because buddy, come on.
I would be willing to say that you're like you were saying you don't know if it's good or bad. I would say that that's good. I think that a lot of those people that like what you're saying, like the YouTubers and TikTokers and stuff that like will like go somewhere and just do some like outlandish shit and like talk really loud and like clearly disrupt other people's days.
Right.
There's a certain element of narcissism to that. I think that, and I don't think it's a coincidence that most people that I've met that are like famous online personalities, they tend to be very obnoxious in person. I've noticed that, and I don't think it's a coincidence. I feel like there's a certain element, like that person who can just like scream into their phone and do like a TikTok video or something. Like they tend to have a personality on day to day that's just like so much me.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have that like kind of deep sense that like whatever I have going on right now is so much more important than
Yes.
what anyone else has going
Yeah.
on, that allows you to be like, let me ruin
Yeah.
potentially 50 strangers' days,
And
like
that's
all
why
at
I've-
the same time.
I've never thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, obviously, like shows like Impractical Jokers is more innocent, I think, and like. But honestly, those types of shows where the general content of the show is entirely predicated around making other people feel uncomfortable, I don't enjoy those. They put me in a state of anxiety because it's like
I don't like it.
I hate that, and it's like. First of all, it seems cheap to me. It seems like it's like obviously like I always say like it's not hard to be different. It's hard to be different and good.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
not that hard for me. If I wanted to like get attention, I could like dress up in a big clown suit and wear stilts and walk in the middle of York Road, and like that would be different, and people would look at me and I would get attention.
Right.
But it's like anybody could do that. What's difficult is to do something and stand out, not because of it's like, oh, it's just crazy, but to stand out because it's it's good enough to stand out.
interesting. Yeah.
So like when I see people that like those YouTubers and TikTokers and stuff, and they just like go to like we're talking about like crowded event, like, hey man, what's up? I'm here. And they're like, hey dude, blah 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 blah.
Right,
Like
they like stick the mic in your face and be like, so, yeah, are women funny? Like,
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
let me just harass a series of people
Yeah,
for
yeah.
hours.
and the entire
And,
premise of your
yeah.
content is just you're saying
I'm
that
here
like,
to make everyone else look fucking stupid.
exactly
Right.
like my content is just other people's like reactions to the crazy shit I'm doing, and
Yeah.
like so how does this person deal with the fact that I just walked up to him in the middle of the fucking like ring toss game and just said like, so blah blah blah, what, and then just I don't know like oh what, and then they like freeze frame on his thing and like loop it back, what,
Yeah.
what, and like all right next guy. It's like what are we watching here?
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Well, and that's part of the thing too, is I also feel like the main fans for that kind of content are like young children who don't know anything. Like, so they're kind
They,
of just like,
don't have
that's cool.
social
I can't wait to
boundaries
grow up
yet."
and bother people professionally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. I mean, that's the other thing too, is like we watched the rehearsal. And we were watching a lot of Nathan For You, and I even with Nathan For You.
What's the rehearsal? Is that a movie?
Well, it's a
So that's
series.
Nathan Fielder's new HBO
Who is
show.
He
Oh,
is a
cool.
Nathan.
Nice.
But he's
He's one of the good Nathans.
He's one of the
He
good
embo-
Nathans.
not all Nathans are bad, but he does
No.
embody the idea of a Nathan, like
He
kind of
is-
like a meek.
He,
He
is,
is a
a
Nathan.
meek
Yeah.
Nathan.
Yeah.
But what he is doing is generally like more interesting than a lot of just like kind of, I'm working with the general public and people are going to do silly, wacky things and that kind of stuff. It's more interesting than that. But at the same time, too, like I have to take breaks from it sometimes because I'm just like, I'm so uncomfortable watching regular people trying to have a normal interaction with this guy who's just doing really silly stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
They're like trying to process it.
And he strikes me as like, like with the Nathan For You thing. First of all, Nathan Fielder confounds me only because I feel like he's reached this level of popularity so far like I remember watching Nathan For You, it had to be almost 10 years ago at this point
Yeah.
when it was on Comedy Central, and it's like what just now happened where he's like kind of reached this like
Well, his
cult
new show came
His
out.
new show, The Rehearsal, is
how
really
recent
good.
is that new show?
It's
Like
this past
month
year.
or two,
Yeah.
month
Oh,
or two
Like
so
it
is
just
that-
came out. So if you're noticing that like right now, it's most likely because of the level of
Gotcha.
work.
So it's
that
like
he's
his
just done.
his previous work is just now being appreciated.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are revisiting it. Like I know we did
Yeah.
because of the new show.
And then
I don't-
also it's
yeah.
like I feel like for whatever reason, like I don't know if it's because like HBO is paying like meme people to make more Nathan Fielder
you.
memes or something.
That's gotta be
because
something.
right
It's
now
probably-
like Breaking Bad memes are coming back in a big
Mm-hmm.
way, and apparently it's because there's a new season of
Yeah,
Better
it's just
Call
like
Saul or whatever.
Guerrilla marketing. Basically.
Yeah, it's like
Oh,
weird
totally.
guerrilla marketing, but then also just like I don't know. It's like when Game of Thrones was big. Game of Thrones memes were big. Like
Yeah.
winter is coming.
Yeah,
every
you-
fucking year.
You're almost
God.
when
wondering
the
like
show starts up again.
is it the cart before the horse? Like are the memes popping off because the show is popular, or is the show popular because the memes are popping
And it's
off?
probably both a combination.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's probably organically more people doing that themselves, and there definitely are like people paying people to do it too.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and totally like you can notice like I always point to those like ads that I see on like Twitter and Instagram stories where like they make the ad look like it was just a random person talking something like
Yeah.
the actual ad will just be like the original tweet of like a necklace, and then the ad will be some supposedly random person retweeting like, oh my
Replying.
God, how can I get this for my girlfriend? And then that's the ad. And you're like, oh, some person on Twitter thought this was awesome. And that's the ad. Like, and now they're just saying like, look at all these random people that are just, everyone can't stop talking about this
Right.
necklace.
Yeah.
The internet just broke over this thing. Wow. It's like, really? Did it? Or are you saying this?
right, or being like, oh, and all of these Hailey Bieber's wearing these cool shirts or whatever. It's like, yeah, that you sent her for free and paid her to put on. Like, yeah.
It's a smart advertising campaign, dude. I mean, what is marketing, dude?
I mean,
What is marketing, really? It's just trying to convince you that everyone else is doing it. It's peer pressure.
yeah.
I mean, I think that peer pressure, just like we were talking about at the beginning of this episode, is the strong, like with the house, with
Yeah,
the,
the
buying a
house,
house.
yeah.
Nothing pushes people into going going to college more than the fact that all their friends are going as well. They don't want to be the person who's not. Nothing pushes people into eventually getting married other than the fact it's like, oh my God, I'm the
last one to get married.
Last one to get married. Oh shit, I'm the last. I'm all my friends are starting to buy houses, and you cannot deny that so much of the things that push you along in your day-to-day decision-making process are so intertwined with this underlying pressure you feel because of where you stay and where you are in society and what your peers are doing. And so as much as like they talk about like the Edward Bernays, we talked about Edward Bernays on the podcast before. He was the father of modern marketing, and he was the one who basically saved cigarettes. Was his big first move was they noticed that like in the 20s, like, you know, everybody was smoking cigs back in the 20s, but not so much women,
Right.
because cigarette smoking was viewed as like a
A
masculine.
manly thing to do. Yeah.
But they're like, let's make these a little bit thinner. Mm-hmm. And then call them meal replacement cigarettes.
Yeah. So he did that.
Don't you want to stay skinny, girls?
Yeah. He did that. Yeah, exactly. He pitched it as like a
Virginia
health option.
Slim.
Like,
Right.
oh, you can
and
lose
be
weight.
like, doctors say that this is actually good for your throat.
Doctors say that Virginia Slims have less calories than a Snickers bar. So you do the math. I mean, what are you trying to go for here?
You tell me. Yeah.
And then the other thing he did was that was also during the suffrage movement, women's suffrage movement,
I
and
was
he.
like, this is a modern liberated woman.
Yeah, he paired up and
Votes.
had like all the newspapers be like,
smokes.
watch young suffragettes smoke torches of freedom. Basically, like he like intertwined
gosh,
the
yeah.
idea of smoking a cigarette with like female empowerment. Like, oh, just because you're a man and you're telling me I can't smoke a cig as a woman, well, guess what? Patriarchy, I'm smoking a cig. And he was like, yeah, you're empowered. But in reality, it was all about just like getting that thing. So like even with like car commercials and stuff or beer commercials, like
Well, yeah.
they found that like, you know, when you just simply pitched a product for its intrinsic value, like this car is really good. It's very sturdy. It gets a lot of miles per gallon. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, that's great. But what we really want is to tap into people's internal desires. We need to have like
and their narratives about themselves.
Exactly.
And
So
what
with
kind of person they see themselves
Are
to
you
be.
ugly as shit? Have Dove soap in your
Yeah.
shower.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the same thing with razors too, is they were also not selling enough razors, just selling razors to men, which is in part that plus fashion of like rising like skirts and that kind of stuff was where they're like women should shave their whole bodies actually.
Oh, yeah.
That's when
It's-
that
it's-
really got going.
It's always the and that's why I say the central part of marketing is to create a void out of thin air and then make people feel as if they have to fill it. One of my favorite lines of all time, one of my favorite scenes from any movie was in Wolf of Wall Street, where what's his name? Jordan Belfort, Leo's character.
Yeah.
He's at a meeting and he says, sell me this pen. And the guy's like, it's a good pen. It writes very smoothly. And he's like, fuck that. Takes a pen. You sell me this pen. And the next guy's like, oh, it's very nice shape. And then he goes to his consultant. He goes, hey, do me a favor. Sell me this pen. And then, so you hand me you're Leo now.
Yeah. Hey, sell me this pen.
All right. Hey, do me a favor. Can you write something down for me?
I don't have a pen.
Here you go.
Oh, perfect. I'll give you $1 million for this.
But what he was doing is demonstrating the concept of true marketing, which is you put someone in a position where they feel like they need your product to feel whole. So that's why when you look at beer commercials, they don't just sit there and talk about like, I mean, they'll be like, the flavor with hops brewed cold. And you're like, okay, that's how brewed cold. I mean, if you got to brew it hot, that's fine as long as it's cold when it gets to me. Like, it's whatever you got to do. But then it's just like, all the commercials are always like people doing shit that like
looks fun.
that
It's
looks
fun,
fun.
yeah.
Like
For your next Sunday game night grilling
Right, or you're out at a bar, who knows who you'll meet. your soulmate, maybe.
Are you gonna meet
Yeah,
her with a
and I
Miller
bet-
Lite or a Bud Light? Bud Light's the
Or
beer
a
for whatever
Stella
happens.
Artois.
Nobody meets their wife with a Stella Artois. Okay,
That's
let's
not
be
what
up.
they told me. That's not what they said. They were like, "Would you like a wife?
Lonely?
Would you like a wife?
Grab a
Stella Artois."
Yeah, but that's kind of like
You can meet a girlfriend with a Bud Light, but you need a Stella for a wife.
Exactly.
you can only have a kid with a Mick Ultra. We know this. You want to be a dad?
Yeah, dads, you got.
Do you want to be a dad way too soon?
Michelob Ultra.
Grab a course. Oh man, yeah, but it's true, and that's kind of like when you look at marketing that way, then you start thinking it's like, okay, well, now all this stuff, fashion. What the fuck? I've never understood fashion. What is the whole premise of fashion?
Well-
the whole premise is, what does it mean to be in style? All
Right.
you're basically saying is everyone else is doing it. That's the whole.
Well, and that's what they're finding too, especially with like with fast fashion and especially with TikTok, is that people are cycling through trends so quickly that one, you can look at someone's video and be like, I know like pretty literally what month you bought those clothes because it's these trends are moving so quickly, and also contributing to huge amounts of waste.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like not good. It's not healthy, but it's also like the way that one very young people's brains are working is like you're always moving to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And then with a thing like TikTok that is so trend driven, like it's a perfect storm of like continuing to just move things.
Yeah.
That-
Well, then also
quickly.
all of like the clothes that they're selling on TikTok and Instagram,
Yeah.
they're not like built to last either.
No.
Because they don't have to, because they'll be out of style next month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's interesting. I never thought about it from the environmental standpoint, but yeah,
Yeah.
obviously if you're creating clothes that are only fashionable for a couple months, then like, yeah. But even so, in terms of like the fashion market, it's like, yes, obviously everything, including fashion, trends are moving so fast. It's part of the reason why we talked about like with comedies and stuff. It's like a big budget comedy movie is a more risky investment because so much of comedy and what's funny and what's in vogue to talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
is so like it's so fast.
Culturally and socially tied as
Yeah.
well too.
So like you
I think
have
that's like the big news story right now, right? With there's like literally only been one comedy this year, and it just
Which
came
one?
out, the
Bros, yeah,
movie,
Bros.
which I saw a lot of like marketing and shit for. I'll probably eventually see it, but like I think something that turned me off is not gonna lie. Billy Eichner like tweeted the weekend after it came out. It like bombed in the box office, and he was like, "People didn't see this because America is homophobic still."
yeah.
And a lot of people
I
that, which
think-
is interesting because I have some like drag queens that I'm friends with on Facebook, and they were like, honestly, gay community not super excited to see just like two normal looking white guys as the leads anymore either. Like,
Yeah.
That could be possible
so it's
too.
like there's a combination of things where it's like, one, you got to do work with the community that you're trying to appeal to as your like main community, your core audience, and then two, like with a lot of stuff that is related to like gay culture, queer culture on a movie thing, it's
Yeah.
still made for a straight audience because they're like, we'll get straight people to get into this, and then it'll be good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Whereas
I also
like
saw,
it's like maybe stop trying to appeal to straight people because they're either gonna like it or they're not. Either way.
yeah. I also
Yeah.
saw like some like woman's tweet basically just being like rom-coms are the biggest audience for a rom-com are women. So and there's no female lead in this for them to insert themselves
Themselves
into the
into?
movie. So
Yeah.
there's like not interest in seeing it from that demographic.
Yeah, you're marketing to a relatively small market, but also it's like
Well, and there's a combination of factors basically, but it's like if you're trying to then like market to all of these markets at the same time of like a bunch of straight people, straight women who are really into rom-coms. A lot of people enjoy rom-coms. Straight women are the biggest like quarter of that pie or whatever, making up more statistics. But
yeah,
like
of course.
It wouldn't be this podcast.
then also
we weren't making up statistics.
yeah.
I feel like
And
all of
also a
our
bunch
stats
of,
have been pretty.
They feel right. They feel spot on to me.
If
so,
I'd give it maybe like 4 out of 5. It's right.
I
They're
would say
right.
we are, probably like 86% completely
Yeah.
correct.
D plus.
The standard deviation exists, but I think, look,
look.
so many of these things are just like things that you feel, and like, yeah, there's numbers for it, but the general sentiment of what we're saying is accurate. Like, yes, the general sentiment is, and this could obviously be proven by numbers if you felt like going into it, if you're that much of a nerd.
The other part of it too is like,
Yeah,
in
if
order
you're
to
Nathan,
have,
if you want to get into those numbers.
to have the numbers, someone has to have been interested enough in it to look into it.
And nobody is, because we all already
we're
know
making
it.
this shit
We
up.
already know
We
it.
don't even need to look because we already
We
know.
feel what's right.
I don't
Yeah.
need to prove to you that straight women are the primary audience for rom-coms. I could if I had to, but everyone pretty much accepts that because we all pretty much know that's true. So then it's like, okay, so straight men aren't necessarily not watching this new movie because they're homophobic. It's because even if this new movie was
you
about a
didn't
straight
blow
couple,
anything up.
you didn't blow
Yeah.
anything up. You didn't do anything that men want to see. Like,
Because I
this,
feel like the biggest like counter to that argument is the movie Bridesmaids, because that's one of the best rom-coms
oh yeah.
on this earth.
But
And
even
there's no
s-
male lead.
There's no male leads, but also
Well,
like how many men flocked to the movie
I would
to see
say
that
that's
movie?
more of just of a comedy too. I
Yeah.
don't even know that it's like there's that
Yeah.
much
Well, it's like
rom
about a wedding.
in it. It is about a wedding.
It's about romance.
It's about
a
a
little
wedding.
bit.
They
it's
rushed
a
that
More
comedy.
of,
ending.
it's more of a buddy comedy, I feel
Yeah.
like too.
True.
It's like it's an ensemble piece. It's about a friendship as like the central tension. But it was the kind of thing where people were like, wow. I guess people will watch this kind of thing that
Wow.
that the studios have been
I
like,
guess
no one wants
Variety
to see that.
magazine is wrong. Women are funny.
You know that stat we've been making up? I still feel like it's true, but
Yeah,
all right.
well.
We'll put it on the ledge for a bit. I just don't like the tact that Billy Eichner takes with that accusation, which is like, immediately if you put out a piece of art that people don't appreciate, you immediately resort to blaming the people. That's annoying. It's like, dude, maybe your shit, like if your first move when somebody doesn't receive your art is to go, oh, well, you just don't like it because you're a piece of shit. And if you were a
Yeah.
better person, more people would be watching my movie. If there were more good people in this country and in this world, then my movie would be a hit, because human beings are such pieces of shit, hateful. They don't want to see my movie, and that, so I don't even take any fault or credit for the failure of my product. It's like, or maybe it's just not a good movie. I don't know. Or
I mean,
maybe
Or, let
Or
it
maybe
breathe a
it's
little
a-
bit.
maybe it's a
it'll become a
fine-
cult classic.
Yeah, and
Who
it might be a
knows?
fine movie. I feel like I've seen some people who watched it and were like, I was entertained. It was pretty decent. I would say from watching the trailer as a person who I am a queer person, I don't know that I was like that interested in the story, other than the fact that he works in a museum and I work in a museum. So I'm like,
Yeah.
now I have to watch it because he works at a museum and I want to see what they do with this museum.
or you just watch Night at the Museum again.
I know, which we have done.
Yeah.
which we have done. But I would say the trailers too. I'm like, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, they're gonna make some jokes about Dumbledore being hot or something like that, and then
Yeah.
I don't know if this is.
No, it's kind of
what I'm
funny.
doing with it,
For the
but-
first trailer I saw of the movie, I thought it was like in the same vein as We Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry.
Yeah, I couldn't
and they're
tell
both
if they were
pretending to be
brothers.
gay.
I don't.
Which
I
was a
didn't know
good
if
movie.
it was called Bros because they were related. So that's
Yeah.
also why I was confused.
I thought it was about incest.
Two biological brothers
but-
fall in love.
Yeah, so I don't.
I'll watch that.
Groundbreaking and historic. But it's like
It
you'll
will
have
be.
things like, Moonlight was a movie that was very highly acclaimed. Obviously, not a comedy, serious.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not like people aren't interested in like queer stories. I feel
Yeah.
like
Oh,
I
totally.
think it's like I think there's multiple factors happening.
I think
that
that it-
are affecting.
It feels like, from what I saw of the trailer, and we're all speaking as people who didn't watch the movie.
No, we haven't.
Yeah,
seen
none of
it.
us have
None
seen
of
this
us have
movie.
seen.
But-
But actually, 100% of the people in this room have not
Yeah,
seen this
yeah,
movie,
yeah.
and that's the first not
So-
made up statistic.
Exactly.
I feel as if it seemed like what he did was take like what you talk about, like people are interested in queer storylines, like Moonlight. I watched and I liked.
Or like Call Me by
Or
Your
like-
Name. That was a big
That was
one
a huge
too.
one.
Rent.
Yeah.
People fucking love Rent. All right, everyone loves Rent. Like people.
What's the other movie that everyone loves? Rocky Horror Picture
Rocky
Show.
Horror,
for sure.
I don't
Rocky.
even know if that's like explicitly gay, but it's definitely been co-opted.
I mean, it's a musical. It's
Have you seen Rocky?
I've never seen it.
Okay, so yeah, it's gay.
It's gay. Like
yeah.
I watched the.
I
Fucking,
love that being like, I don't know if it's gay or if it's just been co-opted by the gays. Amazing. So funny.
The Queen movie. What was it called? Queen. What was the movie about Queen?
The one with like
The
Rami
Minions
Malek.
movie
Yeah.
with Queen Elizabeth. In it.
And the Elton John movie. Like I watched all those movies, and that like obviously
Right.
the Queen movie wasn't about being gay, but that's a major
and so then
factor in the movie.
part of what we're seeing too, though, is like, are any of these comedies? No.
Well-
and that doesn't mean to. I think that there's like just ways to do it, but I also think that like the selling point can't just be like, one, again, from watching the things, other than knowing that there's a number of gay men talking to each other and making jokes in the movie. I know that happens from the trailer. I couldn't tell you what the plot of the movie was, even a tiny bit. And I'm not saying you have to tell me the whole thing.
Yeah.
From the marketing materials, without like looking it up, because I'm also like, if I do end up wanting to watch a movie, I usually like to learn as little as possible. But I have like literally not even a ballpark sort of understanding of what it's about.
Yeah.
Just from the way it was marketed,
Like-
it appeared to be quote unquote. I'll walk out on a limb here. It's appeared to be like they took the plot line of a straight person rom-com and just replaced the characters with two gay men. And at that point, it's like, well, now you're taking a quote unquote like the formula that works for like a straight person rom-com and just replacing the leads. And it's like, are you really doing are you doing a queer storyline? Are you doing a gay
Right.
storyline right now? Are you representing the people that you're trying to tap into? Or are you just saying, hey, you guys like rom-coms, well, how about we take this classic man-woman storyline and just replace it with two dudes?
Man.
And it's like, you don't relate to that? It's like, well, no, because that's not really how, I mean, it is.
Well, and I think it seems like, they're also talking a lot too about how it's like a very historic movie in a lot of ways. And I think that's just having a queer plot line and then having so many queer people involved in making it. And
Hey, listen,
like,
there's a lot of movies in
right,
the history of Hollywood
for
where
sure.
all of them are gay.
Right.
It's not openly gay.
Yeah, exactly. So there's like, but I think that kind of got wrapped into the marketing too a little bit of being like, this is a historic movie, but then it's also like from seeming like a fairly conventional rom-com. It's like not necessarily historically new in the approach to the movie. Like I just think there's like a couple of things with it where it's like, there's reasons, and there's probably a lot of reasons why it, didn't turn out the way that people wanted it to or thought it would. And that doesn't mean that, again, it's not going to pop off at some other later date. But and to conflate that with just being like, so if this and that happened, instead of being like, there's maybe a multiplicity of factors affecting the lower performance than we thought it would have, to go straight to being like, everyone's homophobic. It's like, yeah, America is still pretty homophobic. There are like rising people trying to push for more homophobic laws that will make a bunch of people's lives much harder. That is definitely a core problem, but then to also not be like, there might be some other factors going on with this too, in terms of like pop culture and what people want to consume.
Can we think of any? Because that was a good point. Because we named a bunch of movies that circled around gay storylines and like gay characters and primarily whatever. But are there comedies like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are. Like The Birdcage is a good example. Is a
haven't seen
very
it.
funny movie.
But I'm happy to make something
That being
up.
said, I don't know that the main characters were gay because what's his name? He was Patch Adams. He was the genie. He's Robin Williams. Yeah, Robin Williams is like one of the lead characters in The Birdcage, and it is like a gay storyline, and it's basically like,
Robin Williams. He's the fucking...
yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah.
I for whatever reason, I'm like struggling to remember if I'm getting the right Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's the right guy.
Different
Like,
Robin Williams.
Oh, okay.
It's him and Nathan Lane, and it's a very funny movie, and it's a classic as well of like funny movies. I mean, I think there are good examples. There's also like other things that become more of a cult hit within gay communities and that kind of thing too.
I mean, having like prominent gay lead characters has been a thing for a while. I mean, going back to like Will and Grace in the 90s, like people love that. Like people like, I mean, Schitt's Creek now. Is he gay in the show? The Gene Hackman's son, Schitt's Creek.
Dan.
You know,
I don't know. I don't watch that show.
Dan
but people love it. Like that's like kind of
People
like the
do
new
it. We don't
Office.
watch it either.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like the new. I've seen a couple episodes. It's good from what I've seen. I've just never been hooked into it. But like,
Yeah.
there's no shortage of like, and
Right.
these aren't even like, you know, it's good when nobody even talks about like, if you have to talk about the fact of like, well, the sexual orientation of these, it's like then that now you're trying to sell it to me on some other point other than
mean,
it's good.
I guess. That being said, it's like you can choose to not do it. That doesn't mean that some people aren't going to talk about it and be like, I liked it except for gay. I don't know about that. Like, would have been great if they weren't trying to make our children gay.
Yeah, this R-rated comedy.
Right. If this R-rated comedy wasn't meant to like
Rated R
turn
for
the children
really
into
gay.
frogs gay. Yeah. So
Do you guys
Yeah.
mind if I take a quick stumble out to the back of the garage and
P. No,
Okay.
you're okay.
go for it.
rated
yeah.
R
for
for relieving myself?
We'll do a little ad break.
You guys can have a little couples
Fake
Oh,
ad
yeah.
break.
quarrel. Can you guys argue?
If you
Yeah,
guys
we'll
could just
fight real
if you guys could fight so loud that no one can hear me pee, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just run through the delicious food that we had today. Mm-hmm. Got a loaf of dipping bread from
Yep.
the farmer's market,
Tuscan
pre-sliced
style.
Tuscan style dipping bread.
Yes.
Toasted that up on the
Racks of the oven.
the steel baking sheet.
Oh, nice.
That you got me for my birthday.
Very cool.
Cooked up some bacon, some center cut bacon,
Yep. And you like to
and I put some
you
of
bake
my
it. You bake the bacon.
I baked the bacon
Mm-hmm.
on a sheet of parchment paper.
Cooks evenly.
Cooks evenly. Put some of my lemon starburst salt, pepper,
Lemon Starburst is a
pepper that I grow.
a hot pepper, not a candy in
and
this case.
not a candy.
That would be insane if you were grinding
Yeah.
up lemon
Candy
Starbursts. Yeah, it really gums up the grinder, but it's worth it.
But it's good.
But it's good.
Lemon starburst, salt, pepper, flip, pepper, and a little brown sugar
Yep.
for the rest of the cook. Got a nice little heirloom tomato. Elizabeth made some leek salt, wild leek salt,
Yeah.
up
Foraged.
from foraged in New York.
In the wilds of rural New York.
Exactly. And then infused into a mineral salt from Germany.
That's true. Yeah.
Really just a world traveling BLT.
Yeah.
All the way from New York
Mm-hmm.
to Germany to Baltimore.
Yep.
And then pickled some fresh peppers.
Yep.
Throw those in there.
Pickled
Fresh pickles.
fresh cucumber pickles.
Some fresh arugula.
Yep.
And then boy oh boy. I wish I got that sandwich last week at CVP.
This message is brought to you by
by-
Charles Village Pub.
Towson location, not the,
The one
in
that
Charles
doesn't
Village
burn down.
that burned down in a grease fire. I don't know if they actually put a new CVP up in the original location.
Yeah, they might not have done it because I think that happened again, like
Well,
right before
that
the
being
pandemic.
said, when we got there to meet people for brunch, he's like, "Are you sure you're at the right location?" And I was
Oh,
like,
true.
"Yeah, I'm sure that we're not at the one that burned
yeah,
burned down." And also, I think it was like 2018. I want to say.
You're talking about
the actual Charles Village pub.
Yeah. So named because it's in Charles Village. As
Yeah, it's
opposed
down
to
by
the one in
Hopkins.
Towson.
well, I mean, hey, if we
It
want to get into
says-
semantics here, every THB outside of Towson
I
is a
mean,
fraud as well.
I would agree with you. It says that it is open. So I guess they rebuilt it after the grease fire. And
I
I just
guess
never
so.
checked back up. on
Wait,
it.
so both of these locations had fires?
No, just the original Charles Village pub location in
Well,
Charles Village.
The one in
The
Towson
CVP
did
in
too.
Towson did burn
Oh, okay.
a
Well,
little bit.
That one I didn't know about, but then
it
it
burnt
sounds
down
like
just a smidge.
they should call it Fire Village.
Sounds like they're not very good with fire safety.
Yeah.
Look. Sounds like that's one of the main parts of their brand that they had to
Yeah.
keep.
They just do a lot of
Come on in
insurance schemes.
and maybe make it out
completely
alive.
different. It looks the menu's totally different, but the one thing that we have in common at both locations, the name and our lack of awareness for fires.
Yeah.
I'm
Smokey
joking.
the
Our
Bear
proclivity
hates
to
us.
grease fires.
They're nice people.
So you said 2018 was the
I
Charles Village
feel
pub.
That's what, again, I am just like I've been making up the statistics. That number is based on a feeling.
That
Yeah,
one
But
but
was
I
made
know
up,
that
too.
there was a considerable fire, that like there was a GoFundMe for it, etc. And I believe that it was after I was actively going to that, because my friends and I used to go to the Charles Village pub. We would do trivia nights there. And so then when Eric and I were just beginning to go out, and he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna go to CVP," I was like, "Are you sure we're all gonna fit there? Because it's a pretty
Yeah.
small bar." Didn't know
Well,
that there was even one in Towson.
I think that for conversation purposes, the Towson location is. Wait, do they call it CVP in Charles Village too?
Yeah.
Because I always call it the Charles Village pub when I go to Charles Village,
interesting.
and when I go to the Towson one, I
use
call it
its,
CVP.
I use their Christian name when
Like
I go
if-
to the
like if I were to say-
Charles Village.
like if
pub.
I were to go to
Towson's like your friend.
Yeah.
You gave him a nickname.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right,
Oh,
right,
we're going
right.
to CVP. Like if I went to Towson Hot Bagels, you'd go, oh, you're going to Towson. But if I said I went to THB, you'd be like,
Yeah.
one in Canton? Which
Yeah,
one?
which one? Yeah, for sure. Well, because that's part of the thing too, of where it's funny to me that it's even called CVP because it's not in Charles Village. So it's like,
Yeah.
why not even have a different name for it? But then CVP becomes not initials that indicate anything about the location, rather than I guess it's like a sign that signifies the relationship to the original location, as opposed to any geographical ties.
Well, it's
Yeah.
like anything
Well, I mean, that's
else,
why
yeah.
the point in Towson is weird, because it's not actually on a point.
Yeah.
The point in Fells is at Fells Point.
So you have the things where it's like there's a relationship, and that's the reason why they have the same or similar names. But in fact, they too have been removed from their original context to the point where they bear no resemblance to the original
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
that they're named for.
Another strange thing I've always found weird, Kathmandu Kitchen, not in Kathmandu.
Yeah,
It's in Towson.
it's in
I mean, if you
Towson.
think about the fact...
Well,
how
Towson
just-
Best was already taken.
Well, Towson Best was Towson.
Best was
Yeah,
taken.
I think that
Honestly.
what you're really trying to
And I
capture.
think maybe CVP had trouble coming up with a name because there's already a Towson Tavern.
There is a Towson Tavern, and I think it more so comes down to like when you have like New York pizza. It's like, okay, not every New York pizza. I mean, there's obviously places across the United States that are called like New York pizza, blah 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 blah. Or Philly cheesesteaks. It's like they're not all in Philly, and they're not all new. What you're talking about is capturing a vibe, and
Right.
the vibe is
Or
Charles Village.
an expectation.
So when I go to CVP in Towson, I
It's a
expect
lifestyle.
to feel like I'm in Charles Village.
That's
I
so
want to feel the
fascinating.
impending grease fire.
Yes. What's interesting is that because if you're saying that it doesn't have to be exactly 2018,
Yeah.
but what I'm gathering from your feelings
Yes.
is that this fire at the Charles Village pub happened fairly recently relative
Yeah.
to the Towson one, which happened before I was even off to go to bars. I think we were in high school when the Towson CVP
Which
burned
is so
down.
wild
I
to me.
think
So
so.
that's then part of the thing as well, is like I grew up my whole life not aware of even the existence of a CVP Towson until 2015. Whereas then I had been going to, as soon as I was old enough to drink, or even before that, I think, going to CVP, the
CV.
Charles Village
CV proper.
pub, which is also a bar that my father went to when he was a Hopkins student. So it's like that one, I was like, oh, this is a thing. It's been a thing. I go to this bar. My dad's been to this bar for a long time. Not even aware.
I've never even been to that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Never even been.
Because you're coming from a different context as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I've been
I'm not a big
once,
Charles
I
Village
think.
guy. TBH. Not THB. TBH. I'm not a big Charles Village
Thousand
guy.
Baht Hagels.
Yeah.
Thousand Baht Hagels.
Well, and like I would spend more time in Charles Village too, because that was like the hangout spots for my friends in high school. Were like
had, like,
mostly
your,
timbres. It was a lot of stuff that was just
High
like
school
in that.
reunion there, didn't you? or something like that. Didn't you have a reunion?
I did. I had my 10-year recently. And now that I'm thinking about how I'm talking about this and that kind of stuff, I'm like, actually, I was only like about to turn 22 when I met you. So I hadn't been going out to bars even that long. I just long enough to form really strong opinions about whether or not I would be surprised if there was a CVP in Towson.
Yeah.
You can't just go out to bars without already having opinions about bars.
You got to have a ton of opinions.
You got to walk in, and as soon as you walk into a bar, be like, yeah,
this
right.
is going to form. Yeah, I think I know what's going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do your
yes,
best.
I did. I just had my 10-year reunion this year. It was at someone's house, though. But yeah,
It was at someone's house?
someone's parents' house.
Okay. Well, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Well, actually, 5-year reunion in parents' house makes sense. 10-year reunion still makes sense. I mean, look at us. We're all past our 10-year reunions, and
Yeah.
none of us have houses. None of us, sorry, grammar police. None of us has houses. I hate that. That's my
None of
least
us has
favorite.
houses.
That's grammatically
None of us has
correct.
Proper.
More than one
That is
house.
proper because none stands for not one. Not one of us has a house. And that's one of my least favorite grammatical things. Also, another thing that pisses me off is it's technically it is I, not it is me. Or
Yeah, because
hate that.
well, that has to do with like cases, which a lot of people don't ever learn about in English. But
cases.
it's basically like depending on the sentence order where it comes. So if it's a subject, you would use I, and if it's an object, either a direct object or an indirect object, you would use me. But is an equal sign, so it has to be
Equal.
equal. It is I.
It's a
They're
linking
still
verb,
in the
as they call it.
subject. Yeah. So
Strange. Yeah, because
it doesn't transform it into an object because
is I. Yeah, there are certain things about English that I'm okay with. Overall, if I had
that I think.
I'll allow that.
All right.
English is
Okay,
Rotten
English.
Tomatoes score, and I'm just giving English at 89%. I like
It's fresh, certified fresh.
Yeah.
grade. It's a A
I'm
minus.
just like continuing to just pull numbers out of the air and just being like,
It's all right.
Yeah.
I like it for the most part. But there are things that I don't care. I refuse to say it because even though I know it's correct, things can be right without being right.
Yeah.
Like if I were to sit here
well,
and
it's
be
like
like,
common usage. Like at a certain point, does change the rules. Otherwise, why do we have rules if the rules don't reflect how people are actually using the language? Then you're setting up rules to basically just be like, if you can follow the rules, if you are even aware of all the rules and following them correctly, then you're basically, it's mostly a class thing, right? Of just being like, who can do this the best because they know the best, because they were educated the best, because they had the resources to do so, versus, or should language follow, like, what's everyone doing though? If only like one person is doing everything correctly, then what's the fucking point?
Yeah, it's like, and it's like and it all figures itself out, really. I mean, like if we were sitting here and you were like, "Yeah, dude, I saw that band playing at the Point the other week," and I was like, "Dude, that was I." That was I.
Twas I.
It's like you're like, "What?" And you're like, "What, dude? I'm just grammatically correct." You got a problem with that? Do you have a problem that it was I who speaks correctly? And you'd be like, all right, dude, I guess you're smart, but like, you're kind of annoying.
Right.
Kind of an annoying
Yeah.
guy.
Is that powdered wig new? Never noticed it before.
Buy a powdered wig.
Wow.
It's like
Yeah.
certain things, they just figure themselves out. I mean, but like I said, it figures itself out. I mean, look, at a certain point, it's like there's a reason why Spanish, French, Italian, Romanian, and Portuguese are all Romance languages,
Yeah.
because they all branch off of Latin. That means that at a certain point in history, over the course of hundreds of generations, people that all spoke Latin were in various realms and intermingling their native language with Latin. And also you factor in, this was thousands
that's
of years
like-
ago,
yeah.
where they're like not really maintaining that much day-to-day communication. Like people that live in France are
mean-
not actively talking to people that live in Spain day to day. There's no internet to see a guy on TV speaking
Yeah.
Spanish. So like they just start saying shit differently to the point where now they're literally different languages.
Right. Well, and you can even go back like way, way far and be like, there's like Indo-European, like these root languages of like people coming across land, and you have these different like language families that kind of break off at different points, so that there are these kind of very like basic root sounds that indicate meaning towards these different things. And then you get into like, okay, the Roman Empire taking over large areas of Europe, that changing things a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, English is primarily grammar-wise a German-based language.
Considering that we don't, I mean, one of the big distinctions is we don't have gendered nouns. I mean, even in Greek, and it's obviously Latin.
We really lucked out on that one.
We don't have gendered nouns. I mean, like
Yeah.
the idea in Spanish, like you're saying, like la flora, and you also say el año, and it's like every noun usually has a gender. Like a ship is female.
Yeah.
A car is male. And a lot of it probably is arbitrary, which makes you wonder, like, why are certain nouns feminine and why are certain nouns masculine?
Yeah.
You don't know.
And then in German, too, you also have some of them are neuter, so they don't have...
Wait, does German have gendered nouns?
Yeah, it
Didn't know
has,
that.
masculine, feminine, neuter.
So maybe... Okay, so that actually goes against my theory that I was
Well,
feeling.
and it's
Damn,
it's
dude.
an
Still make it
interesting...
up.
Yeah,
Can I still make
it
it
up? You
up?
can still make it up. You can still
Come
make
on,
it up.
I wasn't done making it
Still
up.
make it up,
Sorry.
Now you
bro.
guys are just going to, like...
Sorry, dude. Go for it.
Hit
Make
me
it
with
up.
facts? Jesus, I,
mean-
didn't know I was in the court of law right now.
Oh
Can
my
I just make a goddamn thing up?
Let me make it up.
All right.
I didn't want to know.
As
I wanted to make it up.
was saying.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that German had that. Now that makes me wonder. Then what the fuck is with? Okay, so is Anglo-Saxon the thing that we get the neutral nouns from? Then if German, because I always just assumed that like the Anglo languages were Germanic. I always thought that I just associated German.
Saxon.
Saxon.
Saxony.
Yeah, that's part of the thing too. Is like it's also like all of it is more complicated, especially because for a long time you didn't necessarily have countries or borders or other things like that. You had natural borders created by like rivers or whatever, but
They'd still fuck you up if you came in though.
oh, for sure, you have like for a long point in time, just kind of like nomadic tribes of people moving around to different areas.
It was like
who
a vibe.
are somewhat
Yeah.
grouped by language and whether their languages are mutually intelligible, which can, completely change. It's not really until you have like the Roman Empire coming through being like, what's up? We're going to take all this shit over.
Let's give the Greeks some credit
We're
here.
going to name your areas for you. And then we're going to like write all of this stuff down. Having or not having a written language also has an effect on the way that you store, remember, and like standardize language as well too.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I feel like the first written languages existed probably, what's the earliest recorded one? Probably a couple, 3,000, 4,000. No, probably even longer ago than that. But it was less about that there existed a written form, but more so just the idea that for thousands of years after the first written languages appeared, the average person
Wasn't
didn't know
participating
how
in
they
that.
couldn't participate in. So like it's less about the fact that these written forms existed, but more so about the education of the public. I mean, it's very easy.
Which was not a thing that almost any society was particularly interested
Nobody
in
cared.
for a long time, because they were like, yeah, it's way easier to tell people what to do if they couldn't read it.
The idea of a
themselves.
society is a fairly
society.
new concept, because the idea of a society kind of implies that there's a group of people that all share certain like roles in the group, and the idea of that, beside the idea of just people that had power just being like, okay, like what the fuck, society? No, I own this shit and you guys do this, and then like whatever you got to do in the context of that is great, but like society, what are you talking about? Society? There's no society. Like, here's a farmland, you work it all day, and then like maybe you can like take some home to eat so you're alive for tomorrow when you do the same fucking thing again. It's like, it's not really a society. It's like people didn't have rights. Like there was no rights. Like there was no like Like, why do you need to learn how to read, dude? Do you need to know how to read a cob of corn? No, you do not. Fucking harvest it, bitch.
Yeah.
That's your job.
I mean-
I'm not asking you to fucking get educated.
Yeah.
And when you do that, pretty easy to take people over. And,
To a certain degree. I mean, there's still like, you can go back to like a lot of stuff of being like creating order in society, like the first rules or whatever that we have recorded being like Hammurabi's code. That's old as hell. Like of just being like, hey, stop stealing stuff, or I'm gonna, you're gonna steal stuff, chop off your arm. Like, that kind of stuff of being like, there's consequences for your actions. That kind of like having an understanding of like norms of some sort, I think is pretty old.
So how do you feel about give the
But also, what was your theory? Because I feel like you got sidetracked by wondering where the Germans popped in there.
Oh, no. My theory was that basically just kind of discussing how like English obviously has so much influence from Latin and Greek, but also the Germanic aspect. And I had always assumed that one of the primary Germanic aspects of the language was the non-gendered nouns. But then you're telling me that German has gendered nouns.
Yeah.
So now my theory is debunked, which is why I preferred to move past it.
No, oh, sorry. I didn't know that you wanted... Because I felt like you really
Scoot
wanted
along.
to say it. So I didn't...
No, I didn't want to
you
say
had
it.
the opportunity to say
Elizabeth,
it.
trust me, if I wanted to say it, I would have fucking
Well, you did say it. So
I would have said it.
you said it, so you
You
did.
put me on the spot.
But okay. Yeah.
Look, obviously, we talk about Romans. I'm core Italian. A fourth of me is like, hell yeah. But you got to give credit to the Greeks, boy.
And they did a little bit of colonialism too.
Oh, they did
They
plenty.
did some little Magna Graecia kind of stuff. We've got at the museum that I work at, we have some Apulian vases that
Nice.
are Greek influenced from when they took over chunks of Italy. Got some different things going on with that. Definitely.
The
Greeks
Romans
were-
loved Greek shit, dude.
They did.
really
They
did.
were obsessed.
They were like, what do we do? And the Greeks were like, well, we've been doing this. And the Romans were like, all right, good idea. We'll do that.
We'll do
but
that.
more.
We'll change the names.
Change the
but,
names a little bit.
It's gonna be the same
because
guys.
it's ours now. But
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I think what the Romans did right, is they kind of, look, if you look at the way the Mongolians did stuff and you look at the way, I'm trying to think of other empires, so much of conquest before, what makes the Romans, in my opinion, and the Greeks on a slightly lesser level, so successful as empires is that they understood the concept of allowing people to maintain a certain level of cultural identity within the empire. That's not to say that, like, obviously, it wouldn't be as much as if they were completely independent.
Right. If
but-
they didn't get violently
Yeah.
subjugated for sure.
But also, here's the thing, and here's the reality. I can't think of a culture or any group of people that was not in some level involved with warring with other cultures. And it's like, the Romans walked into fucking modern day Britain and stuff like that, and modern day France, and took them over. But it's not like before the Romans got there, they were all just chilling there watching Netflix and we're like, dude, isn't it so great that we never fight with each other and like we're
Right.
all so
For
peaceful
sure.
and like we don't sacrifice each other. And like the Romans came in and were like, hey guys, ever heard of violence? And then fucking beat everybody's ass.
No, it's
like,
not to say that. But it did like very much so change a lot of the ways that happened, right? And then it also, I think, maybe even more significant for what like I'm interested in, which is I am very interested in like what were people doing before the Romans came in. I think that's a cool thing to think about.
Halloween.
But Halloween, dude, and I love it. Big Halloween people.
paganism.
But it also really, set the scene for later on the Catholic Church to kind of wipe through there and be like, actually, we're going to purposely erase as much as we can of your beliefs, what you were doing, your traditions, but also kind of like the Romans in a certain way, allow some flexibility for that so that some things could persist as opposed to like later versions. However, there's, we don't need, I feel like this is getting into,
Well, it's the same way, like, the
half-remembered
Catholics or, like,
history
Christians or
podcast.
whatever, like, when they bring Christianity to, like, when missionaries are going
Right,
to
yeah.
different tribes and villages, they tie in Jesus to their beliefs.
Sure. Well,
They're
and
like,
that's
well, no,
part of
you're
the
just
thing
wrong.
is,
It's
like-
actually named Jesus. and
Right.
you should be praying to him.
Or
and
even
we'll let
when,
you do some crazy little things here
when
and there, but
people-
just remember, it's all for the greater good of Christianity.
So they
Yeah.
just kind of insert their characters into another storyline.
to a
Yeah,
certain
much like
degree.
Movie Bros.
Well, and so that was an interesting thing is like when people were coming to the Americas and trying to convert Native people who lived in the Americas, the like French Canadian Jesuit Catholics were a lot more successful than most of the like Protestants who were trying to convert people because Mary is such an important figure in Catholicism and not emphasized in a lot of Protestant things, so that they were able to like connect their like great mother to Mary, like to be able to like map different belief systems onto a new belief system that still had this like very important feminine figure.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm kind of pissed, not gonna lie, that looking back, like I should be believing in Zeus and stuff.
That'd be kind of tight, honestly.
But
would be
also,
fun.
What are you gonna do now?
I'd be wrong. You know, Zeus
I mean,
is just God, and like, you know, like, look, maybe
That's literally what they did.
that's
back
literally
Call
you
me
fell for it, dude.
colonized.
for it, dude.
call me colonized.
Like,
But I'm sorry,
You've been
bro.
had. You've been
I
hoodwinked.
got Did I get got?
Yeah.
and you know what? I got God. So how about that? Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to think about.
I got
But,
God.
So
That's the name of the app.
That's the name of the app.
I got God.
I think so.
Guys, do we have any more things we want to make up? Should we make up more
We could
stuff?
go all
or-
day, but
Wow, yeah. We've made up a lot of
we've
stuff.
made up a lot of stuff, a lot of numbers, a lot of now, honestly,
Facts.
Facts. They're now
we've
facts.
made up at this point thousands of years of Western history.
Yeah.
So we've really been pretty ambitious.
If you're trying to figure out how we got here, just listen to this episode. Pretty much sums it up.
pretty much, wow.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of
Society.
hardcore history? Well, this is hypothetical history.
This is, I think I heard that somewhere in history. I'm pretty sure. I feel confident.
Oh man. Lizzie, Elizabeth, Danger, Norman. Do you have any crazy plugs you want to plug?
You know, honestly, not too much going on right now other than Eric and I will be doing some ghost tours this month.
Yes, that is
So
true.
if you want to look at the Sykesville ghost
God,
tours.
this is a big month for you guys. You guys do that.
Yeah. We're in the spooky industry now.
Yeah. So if you guys find yourselves near Sykesville on the main street,
Yep.
we will be doing some ghost tours.
You might
this
just
fall.
see us haunting
Haunting Main Street.
the main street, doing some walking tours.
Yeah,
Spooky.
it'll be fun.
Spooky. I might actually attend one of those.
Hell yeah.
If I get a chance. I think that'd be nice. I don't know if I'll be able to take you guys seriously, but
Yeah.
I'll go.
You're gonna be like,
I'll see if I can hold
they're
it
making
together.
this up.
You guys say
They're
something
talking
like,
out of their ass. they, don't,
right.
they don't know.
Prove it. You feel like
Where
that?
are the stats?
I need ghost stats.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I like about October. If there's any month to just make some shit up that feels right, it's October.
It's
October's a
October.
good
It's
time.
October.
It's a
I
good month for
feel
it.
spooky.
Yeah.
There's no logical thing there. But you know what? If you want to be the fucking Nathan that says that we can't just feel spooky in October because there's no scientific basis to ghosts and ghouls and goblins, well, dude, you know what? Sit there. You're
Yeah,
no
why
better.
don't you go sit in your basement and turn the light off?
Yeah,
You tell me what you believe.
Yeah.
Why don't you go sit there and tell somebody that was I, and then talk about like, no, I'm done with it, dude. That was I.
I'm over it.
I'm over it. Eric, what about you, dude? Any other additional spooky plugs?
I mean, I'm on a couple work trips this month. Other than that, just the ghost tours, baby. Come on
Yeah.
out.
Hell yeah, guys. Unfortunately, for the Republic of Maryland, I am not leading any ghost tours. I'm happy to tell you some ghost stories, so on request.
If you just see me out and
If you see me out, ask me to tell you something spooky. I'll think of something.
make something up.
Yeah, I'll make something up. It's fine. But what's not spooky and what can be proven by empirical data is that I play every Tuesday at Perennial in Towson from 5 to 8:30, including this Tuesday. Also, I will be at Brews and Barrels in Gaithersburg. Gaithersburg loves to name their places after what exists inside of them. So if you come to Brews and Barrels, you will not be surprised that there is a plethora of brews and also a significant amount of barrels. At Brews and Barrels in Gaithersburg, that's October 12th. That's a Wednesday, 7 to 9. The patented 2-hour Gaithersburg set. On Friday the 14th, woo, beware, I just missed you. Friday the 14th, I will be at the Horse You Came In On with the band from 10 to 1:30, also known as Close or Last Call. And then on October 15th, if you exist in the Bel Air, Harford County area, and you are a member of the Moose Lodge, a secret society, are you a member of the Bel Air Illuminati, the Belluminati? I will be at the Bel Air Moose Lodge from 7 to 11, and that's a semi-private event, and I don't normally announce those things unless there's a nice pun I can work into it. So that's that. At Jimmy Selesky on everything, at Sophomore MD. New single coming out this month featuring both of the people sitting in the room.
Oh yeah.
Both of
Exciting.
Keep an ear out.
Yeah, if you
For some
listen
backup vocals.
tightly to the vocals at the end of the song, you will hear the voices, the angelic voice of young Eric Glazer,
Yes.
who was flexing a little bit earlier, but we'll let him slide on that, on his vocals. And of course, Elizabeth Danger Norman, also in the gang vocals as well. So that's cool. At Sophomore MD, Sophomore on Spotify. At Eric Glazer on everything, and
Yes,
you have different names on everything. You're at Lizzie Normal on Twitter still, but you're Elizabeth Danger Norman on Instagram.
Yep.
So follow those people as well. Guys, live from the studio at LFTS Podcast across the board. Until next week.
Peace.
Bye.